And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Black and Blurred.
Hi.
That's Darren.
Me.
I'm Brandon. We're off a hiatus. Or kind of like, we've interrupted the hiatus.
Yeah, this is a mid-atus.
That's not how that
When
works.
we come back, it's a low-atus.
That's not how it works. But, I mean, we did say May. We just had some unforeseen circumstances come toward us. And so the hiatus wasn't very restful, unfortunately. But did we at least get anything done? Did you finish your video?
No.
So we have at least...
I got to make worship music songs. Worship songs. Worship tracks.
But you did finish one video, though.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
The third to the last video we did was TV, COVID TV.
COVID TV, that's right. So go to our YouTube and check out our videos. We have videos of our podcast up there. We have extracurricular videos up there as well. And if you want to see very, very special videos, then become a patron on Patreon. Our Patreon supporters are also getting some merch coming soon to them. I just received them. It was the order actually was bad, so we had to get that taken care of. But you guys should have your merch soon. So if you're interested in that,
men and women have different body types.
right, yeah. So yeah, we're back, and our aim is to hit the ground running. We've got some catching up to do.
Yeah,
a whole lot. Start us off. What do we need to catch up on?
Well, there's a racist in our midst, and his name is Derek Chauvin. No, the Derek Chauvin trial. Since that trial has started and ended, there has been at least 3 people that have been highlighted in the news who are also unfortunately killed by officers. You have the first one we talked about already, which was Daunte Wright.
Yeah. We have a video on Daunte Wright on YouTube. Check that out.
Yeah. Daunte Wright, Makaya Bryant, out of Daunte Wright was in Minnesota. Makaya Bryant was in Columbus, Ohio.
Daunte Wright was it in Minneapolis?
Yeah. Minneapolis, Minnesota, the same police department. Derek Chauvin worked for. And then Adam Toledo, which was in Chicago, Illinois. I don't think we didn't talk about Makaya Bryant at all on the podcast, did we? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
Because we only talked about Daunte Wright.
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
So I guess you want to quickly just talk about.
Yeah, Makaya Bryant is the young woman who was a part of a fight. She was a teenager.
16.
Oh God. So she was a part of a fight with seemed like her family.
Yeah, I mean,
this happens.
The story is saying that some people were trying to beat up some people. Nobody knows who the people are.
Right.
It's just like it was hood fights.
Yeah, right. That's right. Cop arrives on scene. Makaya Bryant is seen charging after one woman who is pinned up to the car, and Makaya is coming after her with a blade, very close to entering that blade into her flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And this cop, I forget his name, I'm sorry. He acted quickly and had to put rounds in her, and she ended up dying, suffering from those wounds. And so I think because of the back-to-backness and the highlighting of each case, now instead of the narratives being unjustified violence by police, now we are supposed to be angry if the police use violent force to stop threats, which I think causes a lot of big issues.
If he's white and the victim is black.
Right.
Very specific criteria.
Yeah. I mean,
even though the victim of the victim was also black.
Yeah, right.
He saved the black
woman's life. That's just a tragic scenario.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. And it's probably the last thing that officer thought he had to do when he got. So I read recently that the officer got the 911 call, got the call from dispatch, and he was on the scene in 28 seconds. He just happened to be around the corner. So like when he showed up, He showed up when it started, like when it really started. It's not like they were tussling before that, and then, you know, he seemed to show up and they were already fighting. Like, no, he showed up right when it was about to go down. And
he showed up, and Makaya's father was stomping some woman on the ground.
Somebody was, yeah. And you know, if you call the police, let's go with the story that Makaya Bryant called the police. I do have a different theory, but let's say Makaya.
I think that's already been stopped. That's already been developed.
They don't know that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
No. Start it over.
it, man.
Do it over.
It's like, yeah. So let's go with the theory that Makaya Bryant called the police. If you call the police, obviously you call them to protect you, or in that specific scenario, the person who called the police said, "These people are trying to beat us up."
Right.
Don't then fight when the police show up.
Right.
This isn't a high school.
Yeah.
The cops aren't just going to break it up and, you know, all right.
Well, especially if you're using deadly force.
Yeah, and so a knife is deadly force. That's a deadly weapon. And so, but what actually happened, and me bringing up the fact that the cop showed up so quickly is important, because the dispatch told the officer, "Hey, there's a woman saying that someone's trying to stab her." Mm-hmm. And so when he shows up,
that's the woman
he's looking for the knife.
Yeah.
And the woman he sees with the knife is the very large 16-year-old. Another issue, black families. A very large 16-year-old trying to stab another woman who wasn't a threat. She was holding a dog.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she had a knife and a dog. She was holding a dog up against a car, running from this girl. And so Makaya Bryant is not the one who called the police.
Right.
It's just a tragedy. And instead of her father pulling her away from the situation, he's also a part of the situation, and then wants to go, "You shot my daughter."
Yeah.
Like, no, you got your daughter killed.
You put your daughter in this position.
Right.
You have failed her.
Right.
All of that is so heartbreaking. All of that is so heartbreaking to me. Meanwhile, it's just a way of life. You know what I mean? Like, we just accept it. Obviously, it's very common. This happens all the time.
And what's interesting, you know, right. And what's crazy is that if that officer never showed up, somebody would have been stabbed up, and it never would have been on the news.
Never would have been on the news.
We never would have known. Because that just happens all the time in black communities. You know, we don't got to talk about black on black crime. Let's fix this first, yo. Let's fix the white people first, and then we can talk about us. No.
Yeah, right.
No.
It's just calling it how you see it. I don't care what sequence you want to fix things. First of all, there's no human that's going to fix anything. And that's not apathetic. It's not an apathetic or a statement of despair. That's a statement of reality. And I think it's a statement of wisdom to know that you should not enter into a realm that you have no jurisdiction over. When it comes to ending racism, sorry, humans, you have no jurisdiction over ending racism.
No laws you can pass for that.
Yeah, there's no laws you can pass for that. You're not going to.
The ones that could have been passed have already been passed.
And so now we're going in reverse. That's why you see people being hateful towards white Americans. So that's just heartbreaking. But let's keep going, because there are some others. They were stacking them like hotcakes.
Adam Toledo didn't get as much airtime because they found out that he wasn't black.
Yeah.
He was Latino, and he was in Chicago, a place where you can't have guns at all. And he and a grown man, like this, Adam Toledo was 13, I believe. Mm-hmm. He was with a grown man in the middle of the streets in Chicago around 2 a.m. shooting guns, and like they let off like 8 shots. Someone called the police, naturally. Someone called the police. The police showed up, and they both started running.
Yeah.
The police officer chases Adam Toledo, telling him to stop, but chases him down an alley, and then he stops, but turns around with a gun in his hand. Now, he wasn't pointing the gun at the officer, but he had a gun in his hand, and he didn't put it down. So the officer shot him once, which I think in the heat of the moment is warranted. You got people shooting guns. That's your call you get. Officer shows up, and then you run, and then you just stop and turn around. Like, imagine that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just like, what are we doing with our children?
Yeah, that's just, man.
What are you doing?
He probably didn't know what to do.
No. And I mean, in the video, you mean Adam Toledo?
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, in the video, it looks like he was like, he stopped next to this open fence. Looked like he was trying to toss the gun behind the fence.
Yeah.
But the fact what put the officer on alert was that he was running down this alley and then he just stopped and then turned around. And so, you know, he didn't go through the fence. He didn't keep going. He just stopped and turned around with the gun in his hand. So the officer's like, well, why would he stop with a gun and turn around? I mean, you know, he's not dropping it.
Right.
As I'm screaming, drop it, because he saw it in his hand the whole way. He turns around and stops. And so the officer shot him once. But it looked like he was trying to flick the gun behind the fence as if he didn't have it.
Yeah.
But the officer already saw it. He was running with it. And so that's also, I mean, it's just another tragedy. And what people don't really think about is what it's like. I don't know what it's like, and I hope I never do, to take a life.
Yeah, right.
And then find out, oh, it was a child.
Yeah, right. That haunts you.
2 officers, a 16-year-old girl and then a 13-year-old boy. You have to sleep with that on your heart.
There are veterans who can't sleep over taking the lives of enemies. And so now the reason this conversation doesn't happen is because that's counterproductive to the media and I think also elite politicians' narratives. We have to dehumanize one another so that they can maintain control of us.
Right.
Because you humanize one another, then you start to bring in things like compassion, sympathy, and empathy. And those are unifying tools. Those are unifying aspects of humanity. And, you know, we can't have that. We can't have that. We can't be sympathetic to one another. People have to make ridiculous proposals like, you know, why'd you have to shoot her? Why couldn't you shoot her in her leg? And then you ask them a question. You ever shot a gun? I mean, no. Like, wait, why are you telling them that there was a better option if you don't even know the mechanics of what it means to fire a weapon?
Right. Because they want to imply that the officer wanted to shoot this person.
Shoot and kill her, yeah.
Like, that's, you know.
And that's so, God, I'm so sick of the conversation, really. We're not going to dive deep into it, but like when we were talking about the Daunte Wright video, there is a conversation that needs to be had regarding policing in this country. And it had, you know, racism takes us away from that conversation. Yeah. Like people, oh, he was white, so he, you know, it's racism. And so what does that mean? We about to have all black cops? Some part of me, not really, but wishes that would happen. And then what? I bet you that people would start making videos about, hey, look at this cop interaction with a black cop and a black citizen. Look, this is the same outcome. And those people would start getting censored.
It just wouldn't be on the news.
Yeah. The news wouldn't show it. They'd be censored from YouTube. They'd be censored from social media sites. Stuff that's happening now, by the way, people. As far as people who are shedding light on different things, they're being censored. You won't know about that. Yeah. You just have to look it up. But there are people who are definitely being censored. We're allowing that. We're allowing people to be silent, suppress the truth and the righteousness. But different conversation. But yeah, I mean, there's a conversation. I think that leads into
the Lieutenant Navarro.
Lieutenant Navarro.
Yeah, this is a black lieutenant in the Army who was pulled over by the police, and the police didn't do their job well. Apparently he was pulled over. The officer turned on his lights because he didn't have his license plate wasn't displayed properly. This is why he was apparently pulling him over. Regular traffic stop. Lieutenant Navarro, what he said was he was driving until he got to a well-lit area. So it was about a mile that he drove, which is not very far. No. About a mile that he drove to a gas station, pulled into a well-lit gas station with other people. And when he gets there, the cops jump out the car with their guns drawn, barking orders at him. And he's asking, what is happening? And they won't respond. And eventually it just escalates. And, you know, he's actually pretty composed. Yeah, Lieutenant Navarro was pretty composed, but the officers were not. No. They were just saying things like, you know, get out the car. He was like, I'm afraid for my safety. He's like, well, you should be.
Yeah, you should be.
You know, just things that an officer who's trying to de-escalate the situation shouldn't or wouldn't say. Or an officer who genuinely cares about the individual wouldn't say. Like, you're threatening my life, or So now I should get out the car, or seems like you want to kill me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just seems that way. So he doesn't get out the car. They pepper spray him, and then they basically drag him out the car and handcuff him. And then at the end, my least favorite part is they want to just, in their pride, they see that they're wrong, and they want to act like they're doing him a favor.
Yeah.
By saying, you know what? I'm not going to report this to your commander.
Yeah. I'm sick of that.
Like,
I'm sick of that. Meanwhile, they got fired.
Right. I just talked to my sergeant. He says just let you go with a warning about your license plate.
Were they in New York?
You see it's displayed.
What is that? A mobster cartoon? What is that accent?
Pizza. Oh man.
Something that makes me sick about that, because we when we were watching that, we watched that. Go ahead.
This is the last thing. And it didn't, first of all, the only reason it was on the news is because Lieutenant Navarro was black.
Right.
And the officers were white.
Right.
But I promise you, they didn't know he was black.
No.
They didn't know.
Not at all.
It's a policing issue. It's these scared officers. Literally, they are willing to put your life at risk.
At risk.
Before they even care about your rights.
And then in the videos, and I don't want to downplay this, because in the heat of the moment, I think as a human being, there's going to be some shock response, right? Mm-hmm. But you could physically see the cop's hands in his body cam violently shaking.
Yeah, he was shaking.
He was so nervous. And so
not composed at all.
That's just something. And I'm not trying to like rag on him for that. Like, oh, you were scared. No. I think that's a response to anybody who's in that moment. You're talking about potential violent force, life-ending force, adrenaline. Then adrenaline leaves your body, and shaking is a thing that, is a result of that. But I think we have to have a good conversation about preparedness, composure. I remember not a long time ago, it seems like a long time ago, but whatever that tragedy was, where there was a man in his grandmother's house, trying to get in his grandmother's house. He was in the backyard with the phone.
Oh, I remember
He had
that.
a phone, and they put like 1 billion shots in him.
Yeah.
And you're watching a video, and dudes are asking each other, bro, are you okay? Are you hit? They didn't even know that not even a gun fired from him.
Yeah.
They were so just, scared. They didn't even know what was happening around them. They just took a man's life, and he didn't even have a weapon.
Yeah. And
they're thinking they were hit by bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
if they were, it was friendly fire, because they were shooting like crazy.
Yeah, they were. They were shooting crazy. But yeah. So to the Navarro thing, real quick, I hate how the narratives today, everything is so divided and everything is so extreme. And so, if you lean left and you have your allegiance to the left narrative, then you say that these cops are racist. That's their only issue. That's the only issue we have with this video, and that's why these cops are wrong, because they're racist and they hate black people. If you are have your allegiance to the right narrative, and I'm using these words on purpose, if you have your allegiance to the right narrative, like I would say a Brandon Tatum, then you look at that and you try to come up with a reason on why the cops are justified in what they did, as opposed to just thinking well and being objective.
Yeah. Like, since when did we start approaching like officer-related encounters with the right of the officers at the forefront?
Yeah.
As the priority.
Right.
Get out the car for my safety.
Yeah, right.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? If I haven't broken a law, then and look, now here's wisdom. We're speaking right now about the letter of the law. The letter of the law does not say that a cop automatically has authority over you. And so when cop says, I gave you a lawful order, you better do it. It's like, look, if you're infringing on my rights, you're actually breaking the law right now. You ask if I'm being detained, am I under arrest, may I go? You ask questions and make them answer it. And then if they are continuing to break the law, you fight that in the court. Yeah. You say, I'll do this, but I am not consenting to this. I'm just in fear for my life or something like that. You just make it known. But as far as cops being we had this conversation almost a decade ago. When one former officer, shall remain nameless, was bringing up the fact that, hey, if a cop tells you to do something, you have to do it. I'm like, what? First of all, I don't even like that type of language because you're speaking as someone who doesn't value freedom.
Right. Yeah.
Who doesn't value freedom. And it's this posture and this status of pride and authoritativeness over you.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the badge, so I get to be safe. Like, no. You're the one with the badge, so you chose to be in danger.
Right.
That's why you get honored.
Right.
That's why you supposedly get honored.
Yeah.
That's why the ones who wear that badge well and with good pride get honored.
But here's what's real, right? They wouldn't be like that if they didn't have guns.
True.
So they don't care about their badge. They care about their gun. And that's why when someone dies because of their pride, it's a problem.
It is a problem.
That's a big problem.
And then you have the other side where
some of them are dumb and don't know the law at all.
No, don't know the citizens'
And then when
rights.
you tell them the law, now you're being disrespectful.
Yeah, right.
And you ought to be punished.
And so, guys, we're also saying all this
Waterford
stuff.
beaten.
Yeah. we're speaking from experience here.
Yeah.
And this is not that like ethnic Gnosticism where this is our experience and you have no right to speak in it. That's not, we don't fly that way. But we're letting you know that we aren't just watching these videos and coming up with these thoughts. We're watching these videos and thinking back to how we've experienced these things. And it transcends skin color.
Yeah.
That's what our experience transcends. And I've been in many a conversation with police officers where they're trying to escalate the situation.
Yeah.
Because they don't like the fact that I'm articulate, that I'm wise, and that I'm knowledgeable. And so they're trying to trip me up, especially in Baltimore, they're used to dudes who are getting pulled over, who haven't actually broken the law, but they've got something law-breaking in their car.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be scared, and they're just going to do whatever the cop tells them. And if you start asking them questions, sir, why did you pull me over? What is this? You ask questions and they get frustrated with that.
Yeah.
I think cops need to respect the freedoms of the ones they're protecting.
Right.
They have to.
But that's not why they became officers.
Yeah.
They became officers to be in control.
Right.
And so when they feel like they're not in control, that's when they get frustrated and angry.
Those specific officers.
So yeah. I'm not talking about every single officer.
Yeah.
We're talking about obviously, all the officers that everyone blames racism on.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I saw in Derek Chauvin. I saw a devalue of human life.
Yes, correct.
I don't know about all the intentionality behind murder and killing. I don't know about that. I don't know about drugs and how it affects how it affected George Floyd's system. I don't know about that stuff. Never had a knee on my neck or back. Never. But what I saw in his eyes, along with the other officers he was with, was pride. And not only were they devaluing George Floyd, they were also devaluing the other humans that were around.
We're holding them accountable.
Yeah. And letting them know, like, hey, look at him. He's
like
not
in
moving.
real time, they were giving a John Madden step-by-step of him losing his life.
Right.
They cared
Sir,
nothing.
he's not moving anymore. Look at him. They won't even look. Won't even turn around.
Yeah. And so we're never going to have that conversation because we're so fascinated with race. That's what the left is. The left is so fascinated with race and abortion.
They're obsessed. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. And so it's so that we can hate each other and then they can stay in the shadows relinquishing freedoms.
Guess what? There's no solution, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's forever. If we believe genuinely that racism is the issue with this country, then it's never going to be resolved. It's always going to be the issue. We're always going to be fighting this fight forever. And it's against one another, not the government, us. As the government does whatever they want.
Right.